Delighted to say I'm joined by John Evans to talk about the Kerry football final, which is going ahead this weekend. East Kerry against Mid Kerry. Now, you're manager of Glenbeigh, Glencar, and you've plenty of lads involved with Mid Kerry. But before I get to that, what are your thoughts on seeing two divisional teams in a county final? Is it something you like or dislike? I mean, it's the first time since 2015 that Crokes haven't been there.
Look, I suppose, firstly, I'd have to say, Shane, is that they're the two most attractive teams by far this year. And everybody is looking for, a scoring surge, good forwards playing together. Now, while all my life with Lone Rangers, I would have been the advocate of a club. So naturally enough, my heart would be with a club in playing, winning a county championship. But I must say, this year, it has sort of twisted my arm a small bit, as I'd be slanting towards the good football games we've had. And with East Kerry and Mid Kerry, God, there are some forwards available. They're two scoring machines, really. And I'd have to say as well, of course, hard luck to Dr. Crokes, who put up a massive score, played unbelievable football with Mid Kerry, and just came out at the wrong side of it at the death.
Yeah, so that was 320 to Mid Kerry, 319 to Dr. Crokes after extra time. And like I said, injury ravaged Dr. Crokes, down Tony Brosnan, never mind others. And Mid Kerry were 4 points down with 7 minutes to go in the second period of extra time, and they pulled it out of the bag to reach a first final since 2008. Can you talk about the quality that Mid Kerry have, including the Glenbeigh players that you know so well?
Well, certainly I know the Mid Kerry team inside out, really. It's easy to talk about the backs, as I will say the same about the forwards, as I will say the same about East Kerry. But the backs by both teams are good footballers, really, really good footballers, and there's speckled with inter-county experience at senior level, and definitely everybody would have played under 21 or minor. So the quality of the players at both backs and midfield that's supplying the forwards, Shane, and that's the secret in it, that are defending and supplying the good ball to the forwards, is top class. It isn't just all about forwards, but because both teams are blessed with high quality. And in the two Glenbeigh lads, Gavin O'Grady and Darren Sullivan, that are in the forwards, are really backed up with high quality in so far as Liam Carey and Kieran Kennedy from Beaufort, Fikra Clifford, who was he was nearly the left arm of David Clifford when they were going through minors, because he was the guy that was supplying the scuds for David and who was willing to execute them. And Dara Rhodes. So these guys they're all quality, massively quality players, and that won't go unnoticed at all by East Kerry. So again at the back, then you have Peter Crowley, Park Kilkenny, and a young David Mangan that's a really, really exciting young footballer that's taken it on. And what a display Mike Breen, their centre back, has given all year. It's going to be really interesting to see what the matchups are by both by Peter Sullivan and Jerry Sullivan, both managers. Shane, it's going to be really exciting. I don't know. It's a puzzle the whole way, but really exciting forwards in here, certainly by Mid Kerry.
And with East Kerry, who fairly much breezed through against St. Brendan's, 111 to 8 points, and without David Clifford as well. Other than maybe the game against St. Kieran's, where they needed a late David Clifford goal to pull through, they got a bit of a fright there. They have looked every inch the county champions that they are.
They have, and to be fair, they're worth every inch of that too. They are the favourites. I don't follow bookies line, but they certainly look. Everybody knows about David Clifford, and they're getting to know more about Paddy Clifford. I would have trained both of them with Fossa, coincidentally, and Paddy Clifford is really coming into his own, but he's really backed up with Dara Moynihan and this very exciting Evan Cronin. Yeah, Evan Cronin, for instance, got 4 points from play in the county final last year, and nobody looked at him too much. But when David Clifford was missing the last day against St. Brendan's, he's the guy that came up with, I think, 1-2 or 1-3 from play. Really good forward, and of course that full forward from Glenflesk, Dara Roach. Nobody can underestimate him. He's just a powerhouse, strong full forward. He's a traditional full forward in a way, is that he's a ball winner. But by God, can he score off a left and right? He's wonderful balance for a sturdy guy. He's wonderful swivel, lovely slick touches, and that's what makes them so exciting. And of course, I haven't mentioned it all yet. The Dara Moynihan, who has come back. They didn't have him last year, I think, if my memory is right. But he's actually real energy, powerhouse packed half forward that runs at teams, but gets back as well into defence and works really hard.
So you were over the two Cliffords with Fossa. Can you when were you over them, and can you explain what they were like to manage?
Sure. Look, we won the county junior, and now David wasn't able to play with us the first year, but the second year he was coming of age and he was doing the exciting stuff as he was doing at minor grade, Shane. And how would I explain about the two of them, Paddy and they have a quality that I really, really like, and it's nothing to do with their skill, it's nothing to do with their football, it's to do with their temperament. They'll fight to get the most out of themselves, and it's a quality that sometimes is left to forwards, that people don't look for in forwards, that fight, that battle, that hardiness, and they're able to mix it as well. And David, I remember in a minor All-Ireland final, things weren't going well for him. I think it was against Galway. I have a good memory of it all right now when I come to think of it. It was against Galway, Shane, and he has kicked a couple of wides. He had laid off a great ball, I think, at the time was it young Shaw, David Shaw from Dr. Crokes, and put it away. But he wasn't setting the world alight. And then when Galway came within 2 points of him, he went out the field about 60 yards, took on a ball. And it is the fact that he went out that far to win it. He took it on. There was a pass on, but no, he took on the man and came in and put it in. Everybody knows the goal he got, but he's that type of player. David Clifford is just not a silken touch, nice corner forward who's accurate and strong. This guy can battle, and so can his brother Paddy. Paddy goes down the field, Shane, and I'll tell you, we're talking about a fella having a good engine. This guy's about 4 good engines in it, because he doesn't stop. And Mid Kerry will definitely have their hands full in trying to handle David Clifford, but they'll certainly have their hands full with Paddy as well.
How different?
They're great guys, but look, good players don't come with a ribbon around them. You have to, there's little edges that you've got to take off them, and they have it. But they have that fight in them as well.
Do you see Paddy playing for Kerry in the near future?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, that type of quality, a guy that can swivel and go, and he puts on little bursts of pace to get out of trouble, and then he's able to steady himself and look, and his vision is second to none. I mean, he put a ball, as we said down in Kerry, into your eye from 40 yards, which is great skill, and he put it on the right side of that attacking forward. He can score, as everybody knows, and he's as tough as nails. And one last thing about Paddy Clifford is that he's matured immensely. For his young, tender years at the moment, he's still matured an awful lot.
Yeah, do you see him being quite different to David? Because he seems more of a playmaker further out the field.
Oh, he's a different player altogether. He's a guy that has a relentless. He must have the lungs of a bloody rhinoceros or something, because he keeps going forever, Shane. But his accuracy, he's weaving through players. I mean, guys are going to tackle him, and he's just getting away from them so easily, So he's a handful. At inter-county level or club level, he's a huge handful.
And for this final, do you see any matchups being particularly key? I mean, I saw Brian Sheehan talking and suggesting that maybe Peter Crowley will go into the full back line to take up David Clifford.
Well, look, I suppose it's logic enough, really, if you look at it. I think that Pat Kilkenny is well suited to Paddy Clifford. I think that's going to happen. And depending then on what you do with the next best back, and the next best back to me is Mike Breen. He's What I mean, the next best back. Pat Kilkenny and Mike Breen would be the top two backs to me anyway in that defence. And you'd have to deploy them to the two best players. But it's what you do after that. Who takes up Dara Roach? Who takes up, like I said, young Cronin, Evan Cronin, like, you know. You have another guy then that can take up Dara Moynihan, and he's another guy that likes to travel the field. So I suppose we could stick with the forwards all day and be kicking it around here and kicking it around there. But the two midfielders by both East Kerry and Mid Kerry, that's going to be our battle royale. And that's where East Kerry won it hands down against St. Brendan's. Starved the Brendan's forwards of chances. And, you know, I think it's going to be Colin McGillicuddy and what's his name? Ronan Murphy. Ronan Murphy is on the Kerry panel. Colin McGillicuddy is playing the football of his life. The two of these against Ronan Buckley and is it Mark Ryan? Now, Mark Ryan is a serious footballer that was plagued with injury. Rathmore man, and he was plagued with injury there for the last year and the year before. But he's back now in full fettle, and let me tell you, both him and Ronan Buckley, they're a queer outfit. You go back a stage further, 20 or 30 yards further back, and then you meet a half-back line by East Kerry that's savage. It's just savage. Paul Murphy in the middle with the two spa lads, Donoghue and Cronin on either side of it. There's as much pace there. Talk about a springboard. This is a springboard and a springboard and a springboard. So your half-forward line for Mid Kerry is going to have to be really good defenders and be able to attack and supply at the same time.
Do you know, to me,
it's a big ask, I think. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, when you go through this East Kerry team, I'm thinking to myself, this team could easily operate in definitely Division 3, if not Division 2 of the National Football League.
Well, I'm actually glad you brought that point up, because I have compared them to Division 4 teams and halfway up Division 3, because I suppose the man of the match the last day against who was it they were playing? East Kerry were playing St. Brendan's, you know, was Jack Sherwood. I mean, that's a county man. Look at behind him, you have Shane Ryan, another county man, and in front of him you've got Paul Murphy, another county man. Mother of God, you know, with all this, Shane, it's of riches dripping off their fingers, but that doesn't mean that they're going to win a county championship. You know, I'm sure that the likes of Liam Carey and Darren O'Sullivan and Gavin O'Grady and the full forward line, they'll have something to say about that. They're three good footballers, like, you know.
Yeah, Gavin O'Grady scored 1-8, I think, the last day. And I wanted to ask you about Darren O'Sullivan, because he did a piece with the Sunday Times last week, and it was about the training of club versus county. And in the piece, like, in his last 5 years as a Kerry player, he suffered damaged hips and popping hamstrings, and the 2 years since his retirement, nothing. Now, his quotes on that were, I always felt that my last couple of years at Intercounty didn't suit me. Training was one size fits all. There was a whole notion that you can't miss training. I felt if I missed a session every week, I'd be fine. I probably train more now than I ever did, and the body is good. I played 3 games with Glenbeigh, 3 games at Mid Kerry, 6 games in the space of 7 or 8 weeks. I've gotten through all of them, no bother. I can tailor training towards my own body and needs now. When you're in with Kerry, it's hard to do that. Now, and you've been an intercounty manager as well as a club manager. What do you think when you hear his quotes like that? I mean, he's such a talented player and missed so many games for Kerry over a couple of years.
Well, look, I suppose I'll go back 20 years ago to Maurice Fitzgerald, and somebody at the time wanted him running up hills, sand hills and stuff like that. Look, one size doesn't fit all. That's the first thing. And when I went to Glenbeigh, I spoke with Darren. Darren would do maybe 2 to 3 days in the gym and 1 session, which was 4 times a week. I mean, that's plenty for the likes of Darren Sullivan, like, you know. So you do that, and even Gavin O'Grady was returning from 2 years of serious injury. That has to be managed very, very precisely to get it right. And here the both of them now are going through game after game after game. Yes, they're mature players, but you know, there are other players on the team. You certainly cannot one size fit all, get them all running 7, 8, 9K. The bodies just won't hold that. If you've got an experienced player, then you need to build his speed, or you work on his diet. There's so many other factors you can look at. But I would agree with what Darren says, that you have to tailor your training to your players. Really, I suppose that's what I'm trying to say.
And how well is he playing at the moment? I presume much of the speed is still there.
Much of the speed is still there. The experience is fabulously there. There's no question about that. He'll do the right thing with the ball. He's a talented player. He didn't captain Kerry for nothing. He hasn't got 3 or 4 All-Irelands for nothing. He's a talented player. But now he's able to do it and say, I'll give myself 3 days recovery after that hard game, and then I'll train on the Thursday night. But in the meantime, he would have done the gym maybe Monday and Wednesday as recovery. And, he's got clever in what he does. And I suppose at club level, look, be honest, it's not the same as inter-county, the same physical demands up there, and the rest, the nutrition and the strength essences and all that sort of stuff, So he's enjoying his football, and I think that's the most important thing about it.
And so then in the heel of the hunt, East Kerry, Mid Kerry, what way are you thinking this will go?
Funny enough, I suppose there's a couple of things that come into my head straight away. And have Mid Kerry played their final in the semi-final? They have a lot of young players that I didn't mention really, like Liam Carey and Kieran Kennedy. Like Fiacre Clifford, I have mentioned, David Mangan. The tendency by young players is that we'll do the same again. But what really you got to do is you're facing a different team. And some of the Mid Kerry players may be playing the occasion instead of playing the game. I've been in 7 or 8 county senior finals, and let me tell you, it's far from an occasion. It's far from a day out. It's a different kettle of fish altogether. But in Peter O'Sullivan and his management team with Mid Kerry, I think they will keep them well grounded. Jerry Sullivan has put together a good young team from last year. And this is where the secret is. Is there the same hunger by East Kerry? Or have Mid Kerry played their final in the semi-final? I actually think that both sets of backs are going to control their forwards reasonably well. May not be a high-scoring game as people think, because certainly to me, East Kerry showed their prowess in defence, in their tackling, in their defensive setup against St. Brendan's. I mean, they absolutely starved them of the ball. If they do the same to Mid Kerry, then it's going to be East Kerry all day. If Mid Kerry can win the midfield battle, hold the East Kerry forwards to a reasonable score, I think that the Mid Kerry forwards have a very, very good chance of causing an upset. But look, I'm realistically looking at it, you'd have to say East Kerry at the moment. But this Mid Kerry side, they have turned the tide time and time again. They were 4 down against, Kinmare. They were 3 and 4 down against Crokes. They went 6 up against Crokes. They didn't handle that too well. But when they did go down the second time, Shane, by God, did they roar back. So I'd like to see Mid Kerry win it. I'd nearly, for the young lads that are coming through. There's one more thing, sorry, before we finish. The backup by both teams is astounding. The subs coming off the bench is absolutely riveting. There's 4 or 5 that I could name straight off in Mid Kerry. Cheapers, these Kerry lads, they have some talent coming off the bench. I think Mid Kerry might have an edge on that,
Really, yeah.
I think they will. Oh, yeah, Jesus, they have Jack O'Connor, classy footballer, strong player. Colin Moriarty from Milltown, I saw him playing this year. Really clever footballer. You have Sean O'Brien, you have Calum Teen. Sean O'Brien is one of these other young guns that's starting out. Calum Teen, wonderful player. And of course, it depends on who they pick. But there are 4 or 5 players that get on any county team.
Do you know, one thing I wanted to ask you, you were talking about how a county final can be a massive occasion, and of course you don't want to play the occasion, you want to play the game. And I think when East Kerry won the final last year, it was probably a packed house. Whereas this time, the young players of Mid Kerry who aren't used to this occasion, there actually isn't going to be any massive atmosphere there whatsoever. So does that mean there's less chance of them playing the occasion?
Yeah, we see the occasion also comes into one other thing, Shane. The lead up to it.
Yeah, that's true.
The lead up to it.
You can have the game played before before you even arrive at the ground.
That's it. A couple of days beforehand, will they have, as they say in horse parlance, will they sweat in the paddock before the game at all? So it's definitely the advantage to Mid Kerry that this big scenario of supporters are going to be there on the day. I think it has suited them so far, and it's a good point. But it's playing the occasion happens, and you don't realise it's happening.
And one final question, like David Clifford has obviously had the red card for a second yellow earlier this year against Tyrone, which was obviously very unjust. And then he had the quarter-final red card when he lashed out with a bit of close attention. You've managed top forwards. What do you say to a forward when like we all know he's going to get close attention for the next decade? How would you tell a forward to handle that?
I suppose you acquire the knowledge. I remember talking to Maurice Fitzgerald again one time, and I remember this is out on a social night, and he's saying, Jesus, Maurice, you've there's a tendency out there that you're too a bit timid, and by God, I tell you, he was well able to handle himself. David will handle himself okay. David is a leader. Okay, you're entitled as a young player. I mean, he's a really young player, and he's entitled to the odd error. And this negativity that's a lot of the inter-county top players have spoken about, that's there the whole time. In fact, it can often happen whereby the opposing team send in a player to get him on a yellow card, and then send in the guy to do it for a wrestling match, and both of them get it, like it happened to David earlier on. That's a tactical negativity that's there, Dave, what can you do about it if referees don't recognise it? I think myself is that, look, umpires and linesmen have to be a lot sharper to protect good forwards. But and I think there's nothing he can do really. It's outside of his control. He should keep playing the football, the talent that he is, and he's also, he realises, I'm sure at this stage, that that young people are looking at him. They see him as their idol. They want to do what he does. So he's got to stay on the field. That's what can you say? I can't put it any better.
Brilliant stuff, John. I really appreciate you joining me.
Okay. Thank you too, Shane. Always good to talk to you.